Previously, when Chifuyu and Takemichi were surrounded by the Kanto Manji gang, Chifuyu shouted that as long as Takemichi was standing, he would protect him no matter what. And he called for the Kanto Manji gang to come forward to attack him. The words of Chifuyu make Mitsuya fired up. He screams and encourages the other members of Tokyo Manji to keep fighting. All captains and vice-captains of Toman stood up slowly. Inui, Koko, Pachin, Peon, Angry, Smiley, Akun, Makoto, Yamagishi, Takuya, Senju, and even Taiju, who was injured after being hit by Sanzu's slash, also stood up while raising the Toman flag as Hake helped him stand up. Seeing that one by one Toman's members began to be triggered by their spirit, they stood up and began to shout the name of their gang proudly. Mikey, who heard that, was disturbed until it triggered his dark impulses. He walked up to Takemichi and punching him directly. Chifuyu, who saw that, tried to help. But with a quick flash, Mikey kicked Chifuyu to the ground. Within a split second of Takemichi and Chifuyu falling to the ground, the Toman members who saw it were shocked and became silent. Sanzu seems excited that Mikey's dark impulses have finally been triggered again. He states that he has been waiting for this moment. But suddenly Mikey kicked him in the neck, knocking him to the ground. Hanma was shocked and wondered why he was attacking Sanzu, who was on his side. But suddenly he too was kicked by Mikey until knockout. Mitsuya wonders if this is really Mikey, the guy he's known all this time. But he was also beaten by Mikey. Not only that, Mikey then began to finish off everyone on the battlefield, be it members of Toman or Kanto Manji, by himself, and only left himself standing on the battlefield. Then the scene moves to Mikey's flashback. Mikey only remembers one memory with his father when he was young, which was when his father bought him an action figure as a souvenir. After some time, Mikey's father died in a car accident when he was 3 years old. A few years later, he kicked a boy who claimed to be the strongest third grader in Shibuya. He beat him with a single kick and declared that he hated weak guys. Later at the hospital, Mikey sat at his mom's bedside and proudly told her about how he had beaten a boy his age. His mom smiled at the story and called him strong like his father. The next day, Mikey was fighting with other kids his age and beat them all. Arriving at the hospital, he again bragged about how his opponents cried every time they lost against him. For Mikey, seeing his mom once a week was the moment he had been waiting for. One winter day, as the Sano family was having dinner, Shinichiro suddenly came home in a panic and said that the hospital had called him and that their mother was in critical condition. When they arrived at the hospital, the doctor informed them that it would most likely be their last time seeing her. Mikey sees his mom for the last time. He brags about his victory as usual, and states that weak guys are always quick to cry, and he is not going to cry. He also promises to protect his mom, so he wishes her a comeback home. But his mom told him, "Minjiro, you're not strong because you don't cry. Even you too used to be a crybaby when you were younger. All you did was cry and wail. My angel." 3 days later, mom passed away. Shinichiro, Mikey, Emma, and their grandpa visit her. But at that moment, Mikey suddenly leaves secretly and cries alone. He cried begging mom not to leave. One day, Mikey was bullied by a group of delinquents because he beat up their cousin. They said that Mikey was small and insulted him, but they stopped until Mikey beat them up badly. The brutality of Mikey did not stop there. One day he easily defeated 3 middle school students in the 5th grade by himself. Baji and Sanzu were surprised to hear the rumors and they praised him. Then they shared a story with Mikey about a brat their age who was rumored to have saved elementary school students from being extorted by middle school students. Mikey was impressed to hear that and learned the boy's name was Draken. One day Mikey accidentally met Draken on the street, and as he struck up a conversation with him, he concluded that he liked strong guys. In the summer, Draken went to Mikey's house, but Mikey was in the shower and told him to come in. When he entered, he accidentally saw Emma, who was carrying stuff. Then without hesitation, Draken helped Emma and asked if she was Mikey's sibling. And from the first meeting, Emma began to fall in love with Draken. After Mikey finished showering, Draken invited him to meet someone at the Musashi Shrine. Then they invited Baji, Mitsuya, Pachin, and Kazutora to join them. With the 6 people gathered at that time, they founded the Tokyo Manji Gang. Mikey briefly recounts meeting each of the 6 founding members of the Tokyo Manji. He stated that he liked the strong guys and wished they could live happily like delinquents forever. But that changed in one night. On that night, Mikey was called by Shinichiro to come to the workshop. But when he arrived, there were many crowds. When he broke through the crowd, he saw Baji, who was crying and apologizing to him. On that night, Shinichiro died, and it was a very shocking incident for the Sano family. Emma cried and shouted for Shin to wake up, and Grandpa still couldn't believe this incident. While in the toilet, Mikey begged his tears to stop falling, and he wiped them off by washing his face, and at that moment he was determined to make Tokyo Manji the #1 gang in Japan, just like what Shinichiro had done before to Black Dragon. Step by step, Tokyo Manji Gang expanded their influence and recruited members one after another. Smiley, Angry, Hake, Peon, Chifuyu, Muto, and Sanzu. Tokyo Manji Gang recruited the strongest guys to become the #1 gang in Japan. At the pier, Mikey stretched out his hand towards the sea and told Draken that they must conquer the world this year. But at an unexpected moment, 2 people appear who change their destiny. Mikey was looking for something other than power to make the Tokyo Manji Gang bigger, and that day he met someone who changed his life. He was Kisaki Tada. On July 25, 2005, Kisaki secretly met with Mikey to tell him that he could release Pachin from his sentence after he stabbed Osanai a few days earlier. Kisaki claimed to have someone who would replace Pachin's sentence, and Osanai promised he would lie to the officer as long as there was money in exchange. Baji, who saw the meeting, overheard secretly in the corner, and he smelled something fishy. The next day, on July 26, Mikey gathered the Tokyo Manji captains to discuss the plan that Kisaki made earlier, and he would put Kisaki to join the gang. Smiley and Mucho agreed with it. They thought Kisaki was the right guy to make Toman bigger. However, Draken and Mitsuya disagreed. They thought Kisaki had ulterior motives. Baji was also opposed to it. He thought Kisaki was an untrustworthy guy. But Mikey keeps on his decision to include Kisaki in the gang, as Kisaki is the only guy who can free Pachin from prison. Draken slammed the table and opposed the plan, because according to him the Toman gang was not founded to do dirty tricks. Then while walking away, Draken threatened Mikey he would leave him if he kept insisting. Mitsuya said that Pachin would not agree to the plan either. But Mikey remained on his stance because being strong was not enough. On August 1st, Mikey met Kisaki at the ramen shop. He told Kisaki that the Toman captains did not approve of his recruitment, and he argued with Draken. But soon the problem was resolved as Takemichi mediated the dispute. The scene moves to the riverbank. Mikey admits that he admires Kisaki, and he tells him that there is something dark in his heart. Sometimes that thing opens up and starts destroying everything on impulse. Mikey asks Kisaki to guide him no matter if it is through the right or wrong path, because he thinks being strong is not enough, and what he needs is darkness. On October 31st, at the bloody Halloween incident, Kisaki's crazy plan began. He pretended to save Mikey from the Valhalla attack as a diversion, and while everyone was distracted, Kazutora stabbed Baji from behind, which triggered Mikey's dark impulses. He beat Kazutora with the intention of killing, but Takemichi stepped in the situation to stop Mikey from continuing his action. Hanagaki Takemichi. He's not strong. He's a guy who will stand up no matter what. Despite losing, despite crying, he always shows Mikey he has determination. The scene back on the battlefield. Takemichi, who was already battered, got back up to face Mikey. Mikey said to Takemichi, "Why did you stand up? Did you really think you stand a chance to win against me?" Then Takemichi said, "I made a promise to the future you. I made a promise to Baji. I made a promise to Draken. That's why I will never lose." Takemichi attacked Mikey with his punch, but Mikey easily countered it with a kick that knocked Takemichi to the ground. At that moment Takemichi thought he would die if he received continuous punches, but for a moment he remembered the memories with Hina before the battle began, and that made Takemichi's determination come back. He had thrown away all his fears because only he could save Mikey from the darkness. Takemichi attacked Mikey while screaming, but determination was not enough, with a kick from Mikey right on the head knocking him to the ground. Lying on the ground, Takemichi remembered all the dark futures he had seen. From Kisaki and Izana taking over Toman to the worst future in the Bonton arc, where only Mikey is suffering. He saw the future where Akun committed suicide and begged Takemichi to save him. The future where Hina was hit by a car and killed. Chifuyu was shot by Kazaki. Mikey was shot in the head by Naoto. Naoto was shot by Kakucho. The future where Mikey cried and begged Takemichi to save him. Even though Takemichi was beaten up and about to die, he would not give up. He was the only one who could save Mikey. Takemichi attacked Mikey again and again, but Mikey easily countered the attack, until Takemichi suffered damage to his eyes and his hearing, due to being hit in the head too often. And at that moment Takemichi suddenly saw a vision of the future, when Mikey kicked him. But because he was surprised by the vision, Takemichi was too late to react and was kicked by Mikey. Lying on the ground, Takemichi wondered about the vision he had just had. He stands up and taunts Mikey. He says, "Is that really the best kick you've got?" Mikey angrily responded that Takemichi was really going to die and walked towards him. And at that moment, Takemichi once again had a vision that Mikey was going to kick him in the head. This vision allowed Takemichi to block Mikey's kick. Now Takemichi could see a fraction of a second into the future. His vision had evolved, and it was time for a counterattack. Takemichi and Mikey were still fighting, but this time Takemichi was able to dodge all of Mikey's attacks. Everyone who was unconscious woke up and was surprised to see the fight. They couldn't believe that Takemichi was able to dodge all of Mikey's attacks. Mikey continued to rain down kicks on Takemichi, but it was in vain. Takemichi realizes how sharp Mikey kicks. Even though he can see the future, he still has to strain himself to avoid it. He shuddered at the thought of what would happen if he was hit. But Takemichi is not afraid. When a kick ends, there will be a second before the next one. At that moment, he takes a chance to punch Mikey right in the face. Takemichi throws a vicious punch, and the invincible Mikey falls to the ground. That's it for this episode. Thank you for watching. Peace.